In recent years, China has gained a sketchy reputation for handling and the spreading of new and rare viruses across the world. So now, just imagine waking up one day and realizing that you're living your best life. You're totally happy that you have the perfect career or the perfect relationship or even the perfect family that you've always strived to have. Then all of a sudden you go to the doctor and find that you caught an incurable disease that you've never heard of before, don't have any idea on how you contracted it, but now you're dying. But what makes this story crazy is that this could have happened to any one of us under similar circumstances when facing death. Stick around to the end, you'll see for yourself why things turned out the way it did. Hit all notifications. I upload new content every Tuesday and Thursday. Well, if you're ready, let's get started. Li Shikang was born in the Republic of China. No date of birth, youth, or family dynamic information was available. Not sure if China was trying to make it difficult to identify this person, or they just don't keep good records, but I wasn't able to find out anything else in regards to his identity or the area in which he was raised. But as a child, Li grew up in a small rural part of China. Where he was raised, there wasn't many modern luxuries that many of us take for granted. Many of these same people that lived there have never seen such things as computers or had internet access for that matter. The medical conditions that the locals suffer from or advancements that would aid or remove said medical conditions, they were totally oblivious to. When I first read this story, I thought this was like 200 years ago. Most of the people that lived in this rural town still went to see shaman, otherwise known as witch doctors, to treat most types of medical problems. The residents of this small town were not well educated on physiological or psychological issues for that matter. The majority of these people that were born and raised in this village had no need to venture out of the village. They lived off the land, grew their own food, and raised their own livestock. Not everyone that lived there was ignorant to all things, but in most cases, some people just had a little more knowledge in particular areas than others. China has many rural areas such as these. They are mostly poor farmers that tend to live off the lands and have no use for money. When these people do leave their towns, it's usually due to some type of medical emergency, like when the witchcraft didn't work on their sicknesses, or there was a need for police assistance. The nearest major town was called Zhuhai. Then the next closest city after that was Hong Kong. Many of the city's businesses and establishments would take advantage of these people by using their ignorance against them. For example, some scammers would set up fraudulent medical clinics specifically catering to these type of people. The fake doctors would give them potions or trinkets with claims that it would help them with their sicknesses. In turn, they would have to make large payments before they received the items. Since poor farmers didn't have money, they would take anything of value from them, such as jewelry or livestock or whatever. Those promises were mostly unfulfilled, which left these poor farmers with deep-seated resentment. Li completed as much homeschooling and secondary schooling as available in his village. Li eventually grew up and went on to college. Li always worked hard in school and had excellent grades. This was because he knew that education would open doors that he couldn't even imagine. Coming from his hometown, he was only able to hear stories about the world. It was always his dream to live in a major city one day after meeting his wife and having a family. Years passed and Li eventually met his soulmate. They got married and had 3 children, which were all boys. No names were provided for his wife and kids, but they were known to live a normal life together. In February 1999, there was a well-known doctor who worked in the city of Sichuan. The doctor's name was Shu. He had taken the day off from work and was resting at his home. There was a ring at the door, and a small, nicely packaged box with ribbons was stacked alongside his mail, which was left on the doorstep. Shu assumed that the box was a bonus gift from one of his medicine distributors for prescribing their products to patients. Getting gifts from them was a normal occurrence. When he opened the outer package, it turned out to be a fruit box. When he opened the inner box, it exploded, instantly killing him. The police had no witnesses, leads, or motives for killing this famous doctor who was well liked by all who knew him. In 1999, a doctor by the name of Chen worked at a clinic in the city of Guangzhou. He received a fruit box while at work. When he opened the box, it exploded and killed him, 2 other doctors, and injured 2 nurses. 2 weeks later, another doctor received the package at his clinic. When it opened, it exploded, killing 2 others and injuring 13 people in total. The doctor who it was sent to survived. The police detectives were able to identify the compound used along with the mechanisms that triggered the device in the bomb. They were able to trace back to where the items were purchased and eventually identified Lee as the killer. In December of 1999, Lee was arrested and transported to the police department for questioning. During his interview, he confessed to the murders and how he manufactured each bomb. When asked why he chose those people to murder, he became extremely agitated and upset. He told the officers that he had become extremely ill recently and went to see each one of those doctors. The doctors diagnosed him and notified him that he caught a severe, life-threatening virus. They told him that he had to have caught it from someone else and must have contracted it several years prior for it to have gotten this bad. Lee lived a simple life and had no idea how this could have happened to him. He didn't have any friends. He only went places with his family. Sexually, there was one other person he had been with, but that was years before, his wife, and he didn't really know that woman very well. Lee had never heard of this before. I personally tried to identify the type of virus, but it was not disclosed. The doctors told him that there wasn't much that he can do, but he would not be able to transmit it to his family members through casual contact. Anything more than casual contact was risky and not recommended. Lee couldn't believe this. His life was perfect and he and his family were happy. They had the perfect life together. I found no reports of his family being tested or affected. Lee has spent all of his savings in order to search for a cure. He went on to anyone that promised to save him. All the doctors told him that if he didn't ever take drugs intravenously, he must have caught this from someone, and it was more than likely a sex partner. Unfortunately, he continued to deteriorate. As the weeks went on, he allegedly lost half his body weight, and he would throw up constantly, along with having episodes of uncontrollable diarrhea. Lee still did not believe this was happening to him and felt that he was being scammed out of his money. He went to several doctors at different clinics which told him the very same thing. After all his money had been spent on his health, he was adamant that these doctors were just withholding the cure from him. Lee decided at that moment that he was going to get them back for taking all his money and not curing him of this rare deadly disease. Lee was truly convinced that the cure was only accessible to the wealthy, which he was not one of. Lee taught himself how to create bombs and sent one to each doctor that he felt deceived him. While at the police department, Lee learned that each one of the doctors that he killed was actually reputable physicians that told him the truth about his medical diagnosis. Lee discovered Lee was just like his neighbors in the town that he grew up in. He was ignorant to how diseases were transmitted and that they were all not curable. When I did the research, I found that this was a very big problem in China. The cities were filled with fake doctors. After Lee's incident, the police began to crack down on these fraudulent doctors. They organized a sting after Lee's arrest of all the clinics within just one city, and over 400 fake doctors were arrested. After hearing this, many people soon came forward and complained about loved ones dying after promises of being cured by these charlatans. Lee was charged for the homicides and injuries, but no other information was provided on the trial results or his sentence. Also, if you guys have any idea about what kind of sickness this was, because I didn't, I would love to hear about it in the comment section. If you enjoy more stories such as these, click on one of the suggested videos above. God bless and stay safe.